Hello, and that's the sort of thing I get to see when I get off the bus early in the morning and go to work at this time of year. I'm doing all the early shifts at the moment, so doing preparatory stuff and what have you before everybody sort of piles in to buy their Christmas presents. And, you know, we don't really do the C word on this channel and this Vlogmas nonsense, but we've just passed 6,000 subscribers, 6k, so thanks very much to everybody who subscribed this year. On the 2nd of January this year, we were at 2,458, so it's gone up a fair whack. Not an enormous amount. This isn't a big channel. We don't do lots of clickbait, you know, we're not really populist, we're not young and good looking anymore, so there's all that to contend with. But I thought really it was time for an update and just show you some new books as well, because I've got some new things and I didn't manage to fit them in to the last few videos. So before we do that, I just wanted to thank everybody again for subscribing and for viewing. The subs are an interesting thing, because as other friends of mine who do YouTube as well say, it's not the subscriptions that matter, it's the views. It's the views that really support the channel. And, you know, I don't do Patreon or anything like that. I don't do channel memberships. I've talked about these things. Maybe we'll get them in the future. Who knows? I am doing an awful lot of videos still. I'm trying to cut it down to 2 a week because it's a bit much, because my health hasn't been great this year, as I've said already many times. I'm sure you're fed up of hearing about it, but it really has been quite difficult for me. And really in January it will drop down to 1 or 2 a week. There'll probably be one week, 2 the following week, something like that, because it's just depending what I can fit them in really. And you know, the honest truth is, and you know, anybody will tell you this if they're pushed, is that because the advertising rates on YouTube in January are not so great, you know, it's a really difficult thing, because if you're making money, you'll see some of the biggest people really pull back and don't do anything because they don't make as much money. But January is my holiday time. As you see, I was off to work yesterday, and Christmas is a funny thing for, if you work in retail, it does get burned out of you, especially if you've done it for a long time like I have, and you don't really develop a very good feeling about it. And I'm looking forward to when I retire, when I'll enjoy Christmas a bit more, I think. But now I'm part-time, it is easier. And I think if I hadn't had the ill health this year, I'd be enjoying it a lot more. But you know, it is something we've got to put a lot of effort in my industry, and people in retailing everywhere. Books particularly making excellent presents. We get very, very busy. We get substantially busier than most shops, even though everybody is rushed off their feet. So there's lots of things to do. So I'm kind of squeezing things in between that really. So thanks to everybody for the views, the subscriptions. Something that makes a real difference is super thanks. So if you want to tip me, that does make a massive difference, particularly in quiet times like January and February, or any time that you feel that one is deserving of such things. And thanks to everybody who's bought things from the Amazon wish list as well. I mean, I'm astounded by people's generosity. It's really quite something. So thanks a lot. So what are the plans for next year? Well, a lot of the plans have been held back by my health, as I say, but I will be having January as my sort of holiday time. I always take 2 weeks off then, so I get sort of through the Christmas period, and it's still busy in shops right the way up until the children go back to school, because people have had sort of gift vouchers and stuff, so that's really important. And everybody likes to enjoy their time out and, you know, and relish the capitalism, as we all do really. We all love it really. It's like a substitute for that pagan thing, isn't it? So there you are. So yeah, so it doesn't settle down for me until sort of 1st, 2nd week of January. And then after a couple of weeks, I sort of take some time off, and I take a couple of weeks holiday, and I will be doing a little getaway, and I'll be doing a little vlog on that, and I'm not going to tell you more about that until it actually comes up, and other things will be in progress. It's hard to say where we're going to go. It's probably going to continue to be as chaotic and scattershot and impulsive as it is, because I'm a mood reader and I don't have a grand plan. So it's really hard to say what will happen, but I hope you like what's coming up. There's going to be lots more SF as usual, but there is going to be more about mainstream fiction and the novel of ideas, which is something I've always been interested in, and I've mentioned that already. So the novel of ideas, be coming to it more and more and more, and we'll see what happens and what comes out of it. Also, my journey as a collector who is late in life, who is sort of sort of racking things down on the collecting front that may not appear that way. I'm working towards the final library. There'll be more on that. You'll see more on that going forward. And there'll be sort of usual expeditions, book hauls, what have you, with Jules Burt and hopefully other collaborators as well. So a big shout out to other people on YouTube who I enjoy watching. John at Sci-Fi Scavenger. Hey John. Matt Defoe at Science Fiction Reads. Matt at Bookbuild, of course, who I owe everything to, for giving my first sort of shout really that got me somewhere. Hi to Richard at Vintage SF, to Moyd at Media Death Cult, and Jules Burt obviously is my main man. And if I've missed anybody, you know, please forgive me, but there's a lot of sort of great guys and great people doing great work out there. Robin at Bookends and Biscuits as well. So is there anybody else I've forgotten? I'm just doing it off the top of my head, but those are some of my favourite channels for SF anyway. So anyway, let's have a look at some recent acquisitions. As you can see, I'm all in black. I feel like something from an Ingmar Bergman movie. You know, this huge scarf the video would have brought me in. This is my favourite new top, which I'm wearing all the time. So let's have a look. So you saw me the other day at Jules Burt's, not at Jules Burt's, very, very poor. You saw me the other day at Honest Bob's in Dorset picking up some things, including some of the Harry Harrison and Brian Aldiss Best New SF, and I put them with the other ones. There's number 4, which I didn't show you because that was already in the collection, and number 7 is here as well, which is also in the collection as well for ages. This one's really common, I don't know why. Great cover though. And so I don't know where I'm going to put those yet. I managed to put everything else in the haul away, but not that one. But what else have we got? Well, the other day I went to the dentist to have root canal. Oh joy, and that's been another thing I won't bore you with. And I've got more of that to come. And it really is, it's a pain in the mouth, but it's more of a pain in the wallet, I can tell you that now. And there's a little bookshop just on the corner by where I go to the dentist for the specialised treatment. And I must take another video there. I haven't done one there for ages. And outside they had some old penguins. And I picked up 2 old favourites, books I got rid of years ago and I should have kept. And I had later editions than this. And this is somebody who really sort of was a big cult figure with modern literature figure alongside the likes of Camus, Sartre, Hesse, de Beauvoir, all those sort of good things. That's Jean Genet, and this is The Thief's Journal. And Genet was gay, and he's sort of like, the way I could describe him, he's like the Samuel Delany of modern literature, except he precedes Delany. And he was a thief and a rebel and an outsider. He was an orphan, and he was gay, and he spent a lot of time in prison. And, you know, sort of his artistic compatriots had to write to the French authorities and say, look, you know, get this guy out of prison. He doesn't deserve it. He's a good guy. And that's The Thief's Journal, which is a fantastic book. I'm going to talk about him next year. He's kind of the poet of transgression, really. And this is Miracle of the Rose, which is another one I used to have. And that's a Max Ernst painting, Europe After the Rain, which of course is a song by John Fox. Really, really nice. I was pleased to get those little A format paperbacks. And they're in print again now from Faber. He went very out of fashion. But the thing is, the Faber jackets are really boring. But I've got to try and pick up old copies of his other works, because I used to have loads of them. And I said, I really don't like the Faber ones. But if you must read them, must buy new ones. So yeah, Genet, really good. Excellent stuff. Something else new, which crept out unheralded in November, is Dave Hutchinson's Sanctuary, and this is the 3rd in the Aftermath series, which is a series of 4 books which have been written by Dave Hutchinson and Adam Roberts. The first 2, I think, appeared quite some time back, before the pandemic. They're different jackets, and they're great English catastrophe novel set about 200 years in the future, sometime after a large meteor shower has come down and it has been spotted by our defensive, and it's wiped out civilization. So this is set in Britain sometime after that, and there's a rural agrarian society, and people are starting to form militias and things. So it's a little bit Keith Roberts, a little bit John Wyndham, and this is the 3rd volume, and they've changed the covers and I really don't like them. And this was actually really hard to get for me in work, and I was trying to work out why. And it said on the database it was print on demand. A brand new science fiction novel in the series is print on demand. That shows you where British SF publishing is. It's on its knees, you know. It's really terrible. So the first one's by Dave, the second one is by Adam, the 3rd one's by Dave, and the 4th one by Adam. Hopefully will follow before too long. But they're good old-fashioned English catastrophe novels. But as both Dave and Adam are quite witty, they do have that kind of edge. So it's great stuff. So it's John Wyndham, Keith Roberts with a few sort of laughs, but not sort of too knockabout. Just really good, witty stuff. I'm looking forward to that. It's quite a big one. But print on demand on initial publication from a major publisher, from Solaris, who are about the best British SF publisher these days for new material. I was really quite shocked by that. So, and it was harder to get than it should have been, even for me. So that tells you everything. Right. What else have I picked up? Well, I talked about Piers Anthony in the last collected diary. And when I was at Bob's in Dorset the other day with Jules, he had very little, and I was surprised, and I'm sort of feeling nostalgic about Anthony. And he's somebody who, he's not a great writer by any means, but he was very popular. And I've just had a feeling to sort of go back and look at some of his work. And I used to sell tons of it in the 80s and decided to sort of pick up some things which would give me the warm glow of nostalgia. And at the same time, maybe get me reading something by him I hadn't read. So I decided to get the Cluster trilogy, and this is Vicinity Cluster. And I got the complete trilogy from Andy at Cold Tonnage Books. Hi Andy, hope everything's okay. Andy has had a bit of an op recently and I hope he's all right. I'm hoping to get down to see him next year. It will happen. It's just a question of us old guys getting it together. And this is published by Millington, who were active in the 70s. And as you see, a very plain livery. And I know a lot of you will find this really boring because you hate plain liveries, but I love them. And they remind me of the days and us old guys when we used to go to the libraries and there was lots of SF. And there you go, that's Vicinity Cluster. And this is sort of solid stuff, you know, it's interplanetary adventure. There's a planet called Outworld and there are dinosaurs there. So it's quite Burroughsian in a way. That's Edgar Rice rather than W.S. And there's things in this about Kirlian energy, which is, you sort of Kirlian photography, you take a photograph and it shows sort of like an energy field and stuff. There's a picture of David Bowie's Kirlian field around his hand inside the album Earthling, for example. So that's that. And I got these as a unit from Andy. They're not uncommon. It's probably harder to find the paperbacks in good nick these days. And this is Chaining the Lady, the second volume, which is in a fetching green, as you see. Again, very, very plain. And I know a lot of you find this boring, but unfortunately, you know, it is a thing. I mean, what you've got to realise is that, you know, before our contemporary world, a lot of the time when there was no internet, a lot of hardcover books, a lot of hardcover fiction was sold to libraries in Britain. And the library thing was really, really big until the early 80s. And a lot of us grew up borrowing books from libraries and going there because you didn't see these things widely stocked in bookshops. And, you know, libraries were a real lifeline for SF hardcover publishing. And this is the third, Kirlian Quest, which is a nice pink. So I'm very pleased with those. You know, the three together, and they're very, very handsome and simple. They have a sort of real sort of charm about them, and I love that. I really love these. So there you go. So I've got those, and I don't know when I'll read them. My TBR is just ridiculous, like yours is, I'm sure. And I know a lot of you are complaining that yours is even worse now you started watching this channel, but you know, it's not going to get any better. That's the thing. So I think that's it. We rambled on a bit. There will be some more interesting material coming up in the next few days on the channel. Thanks again to everybody who's watched. I hope you have a relaxing, peaceful and relatively stress-free Christmas. Just take it easy, calm down, relax, kick back, enjoy it while you can. And the next one of these, you know, as I say, there'll be a vlog coming sometime late January, early February, and then, you know, it'll be a bit more relaxed. Thanks again to everybody for everything, subscriptions, views, super thanks, really, really appreciate it. And Outlaw Bookseller will soon be heading towards the 3rd year. Wow. Bye for now.